What's up, guys? Seattle Sports Center will be going over my 2019 Week 4 college football rankings for the season, and now this is just to kick off Week 4 before we get into some previews. Week 3 kind of was a boring one for college football. We really didn't see a whole lot of action or a whole lot of crazy upsets. I mean, we saw a couple upsets, but nothing really too crazy. Your biggest game of the week probably was Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa beating them. And we'll be going over what my ranking is for them here coming up in this video. But starting off with ranks 1 through 7, we got Clemson at number 1. This entire list, or 1 through 7, stays completely the same from last week. I couldn't really change many positions. The only conflicting thing, I think 5 through 7 could be a little bit different, but I'm very confident with my top 4. Clemson is number 1, Alabama is 2, Georgia 3, LSU 4. All 4 of those teams had pretty much blowouts on all of their opponents. Clemson blew out Syracuse on the road. Alabama did South Carolina on the road. And Georgia and LSU kind of had the easy end of things. Arkansas State, Northwestern State. And then Ohio State, on the other hand, they played really well. They beat Indiana this week as well. And meanwhile, Oklahoma played at UCLA. So a lot of the top 7 teams were on the road here this week. And Oklahoma played UCLA on the road, 48-14, they won that one. And then Florida played Kentucky on the road. Of course, they lost Felipe Franks at quarterback, and it's possible, and it's likely that he's going to be out for the rest of the season. So for Florida, it's tough to say how that's going to affect them in their season, but I don't think that they're going to be my favorite to win their division in the SEC anymore. I thought possibly kind of going into this season that actually Florida would end up winning their division and making it to the SEC championship game, but now I think Georgia's probably my favorite to do that, and I think Georgia's probably going to be our best bet to make it into the SEC, or to win the possible SEC championship game for that division. Those are your top 7. In the AP poll, I do know Oklahoma has had them at 5 in the AP poll for the previous 4 weeks. Then they've had Ohio State at 6. I've actually had Ohio State in the top 5. I've actually had them at 5 for a couple weeks here now. Of course, when LSU moved up last week, that kind of bumped their position a little bit. I've always had Ohio State in front of Oklahoma. I've been more impressed with their wins and also with them being the Big Ten, supposedly a better conference than the Big 12. That's another reason why I've got them in that position. Pretty good win on the road against Indiana. They've had trouble with that team before in the past. So really for Ohio State, that's a pretty good win there. Here's 8 through 14 now. Auburn played Kent State at home, 55-16. They won that one. Utah played Idaho State. They won that one as well. Shut them out, 31-0. And then Notre Dame, I really haven't been as high on this Notre Dame team, but as the weeks go by and I start to see more and more about this team, I think Notre Dame is for real once again this year. They beat New Mexico 66-14 last week. And I do understand that it's New Mexico, but 66-14, that's still a very, very impressive score. Michigan had a bye this week. They are moving down 1. I swapped them with Notre Dame. Texas played at Rice, beat them 40-13, not enough to move them up though. Wisconsin also had a bye. They stay in their same position. And Penn State had that game against Pitt, which they won 17-10. I've got them at 14 going into this week. The Big Ten schools, though, Wisconsin, I think Wisconsin is a for real team. But the thing is, though, we got a big game coming up this week. Michigan and Wisconsin play each other. I'm going to be going over a preview on that in a couple of days. But Wisconsin being at home, I'm telling you, this could be a pretty big game, especially for Wisconsin. Both teams are 2-0, and both teams have had a bye this week. So, for both teams, they're going to be pretty rested up and ready to go. Very interesting game there. I think that's probably going to be, outside of Notre Dame and Georgia, probably the second biggest game of Week 4. Now looking at 15 through 21, you got UCF at 15, and this team I saw them beat Stanford the way that they did. UCF is now for real in my mind. I've kind of kept them in kind of the background a little bit. I've kept them 1 or 2 spots below the AP poll the last few weeks, but now I've bumped them up to 15 along with the AP poll. I think that team is for real. They would, kind of looking at the teams below them, would they beat Oregon? Would they beat Texas A&M? I believe that they would. Possibly in a road game, I don't think it would happen, but in a home game, I think that they would have a great chance of beating both of those teams. Of course, Stanford, though, 45-27. They blew out Stanford. I know it's a home game, and also Stanford's been struggling a little bit. But man, that is still an excellent win for a group of 5 conference team. Oregon, on the other hand, played Montana, beat them 35-3. And then Texas A&M played Lamar at home, beat them 62-3. And I, of course, had to move Oregon and Texas A&M down 1 each because UCF needed to get bumped up. So really nothing against Oregon or Texas A&M. It was just UCF that impressed me this week. Iowa's at 18. They stay the same after their win at Iowa State. Nothing too much of impressive in that game. Washington State played at Houston on Friday night, I believe. Beat them 31-24. They move up 1. Washington moves up 2. Kind of trying to get back right where they were at the beginning of the season. They played Hawaii and beat them 52-20. Virginia, on the other hand, moves up 4 this week. They played Florida State. Not a very impressive win, of course. I mean, 31-24. It's still a good win against Florida State. But then again, Florida State is really struggling right now. I mean, all 3 of the games, they've just absolutely struggled. That's a 1-2 team right now. And their only win is against, I believe, Louisiana Monroe, which that game they almost lost. So, yeah, Florida State, that's not a very good signature win. But the thing is, though, 22-25 are kind of messy after week 3. But yeah, now here's what your new 22-25 look like. We got 3 new teams in the rankings this week. Boise State's now at 22. Not very impressed with this team right now. I'm just keeping them at a safe 22 right now. Portland State 45-10. They won that one. But the thing is, though, the week before, they struggled with Marshall, and I was like, all right, if you're going to struggle with Marshall, I mean, how good can you really be? But I'm going to bump them up 2-22 just because we're having Michigan State, Maryland, and USC drop out. Honestly, I almost considered putting Michigan State still in these rankings ahead of Boise State because I think if Michigan State and Boise State played each other, who would win? I think Michigan State would win pretty confidently. But yeah, then again, they did take a loss this week. And I mean, you can't be so sure about that. So yeah, Boise State being an undefeated team does get that number 22 spot. K-State is 23. They enter the rankings. They are not in the AP poll, surprisingly. The AP poll, for some odd reason, has California at 23. And I do not understand that logic at all. I mean, I'm sorry if you're a California fan or a Cal fan, but I mean, I don't understand why you'd get put in the rankings. I mean, you've had like 3 close games, nothing too impressive in there. And I mean, I think this week, I forget who you guys played, but it was a close game. North Texas, I think that's who it was. You played North Texas, and it was a close win. Why would you get put in the rankings for that? I do not understand the logic behind that. I guess the AP poll, I guess they know, I guess somehow. Yeah, Kansas State was more impressive. They've been more impressive in their first 3 games of the season. They played Mississippi State on the road, 131-24. They're entering the rankings this week. K-State, I think it's for real. That is a veteran team, and that's why they are put in at 23. TCU is 24. They played at Purdue. Impressive win there. I thought Purdue could possibly pull out an upset, but I was very wrong there. TCU came to play, won at 34-13. And Arizona State takes my number 25 spot this week. They played at Michigan State. Won that one 10-7. I was really surprised by that win there. I thought Michigan State for sure could pull that one out, but it didn't really happen this week. But yeah, here's their first 5 out. California is 26. I'm just putting them there. Pretty much so that people don't get angry at me. Yeah, Oklahoma State is 27. Michigan State is 28. I mean, Oklahoma State, Michigan State, both of those spots really could swap. But the thing is, though, Michigan State's taking a loss now. So yeah, that bumps them down to 28. Memphis is 29. Army is 30. Really been impressed by Memphis so far, and then Army, of course. I mean, they've been able to hang around Michigan, or they were able to hang around them, and also they've had a couple of pretty good wins this season so far. But Michigan State, Maryland, and USC all drop out. How about Maryland though? Wow, that was surprising. I thought Maryland was for real. I mean, we looked at them the first 2 weeks, and apparently, I mean, based off of those results, Syracuse is either pretty terrible or Maryland was just a 1-week wonder. Because, I mean, their offense was looking stellar. And, I mean, they had a decent start to the game there against Temple. But, yeah, then in the end, I mean, Maryland, they just were not able to finish it. And it's tough to say whether Maryland is actually for real or not. I guess we got a few games coming up in the next few weeks, which will definitely tell whether Maryland is for real or not. But I guess we won't know for now. But yeah, then I got USC, or well, actually dropped out from last week's rankings. They lost this week as well. But yeah, let me know you guys' thoughts on these rankings in the comments below. If you think any of these rankings are wrong, which I'm sure, especially towards like the 20 to 25 mark, there will be many conflicting possibilities for sure. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts though on week 3 as well. What did you guys think of week 3? Do you think Maryland is still a real team? I mean, that is a really tough question. I don't know if I can even answer that right now. I mean, of course, putting up that many points 2 weeks in a row, 130 points within 2 weeks, then all of a sudden just flopping against Temple. It could be a pressure problem, or is Maryland just kind of fake? I mean, you let me know your guys' thoughts. Definitely a big storyline in week 3 for sure. I'll be on more previews coming for week 4. We're going to get started with this week. Really looking forward to it. Thanks you guys all for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to. I really would appreciate that. It really helps out the channel with the grow and stuff. And so yeah, thank you guys all for watching though. And stay tuned for more from All Sports Central.